All right, everyone. Monday morning. This is a morning briefing from the Celtic Way. Guys, Champions League week, if that is such a thing. Uh, Excited, Tony?
Trying to keep a tin lid in it, yes, I am indeed. Inaugural Champions League phase competition. Let's do it.
Ryan, it was a good way to go into it the weekend. Comfortable win over Hearts and 14 wins in a row now, guys. I believe, stretching all the way back to last season. Not many people talking about that.
No, I didn't even know of that record. It's the other record that I think everybody's been talking about, the 5 clean sheets that equals in 118. It's a 118-year record. Bit of funny story behind that as well. But yeah, Celtic are clearly in a good place. I didn't think they were at their best at the weekend, but still they got the job done. They kept a clean sheet. The 2 new boys got on the score sheet as well, so they're acclimatised to everything Celtic related as well. So that's absolutely brilliant to see. And yeah, good preparation. Hopefully they're keeping their shooting boots, for Wednesday, because it could have and probably should have been more than 2-0 at the weekend. But you know, as long as they got the 3 points, that was the main thing. They're joint top with Aberdeen at the moment. Both teams have had great starts this season, but all focus is now on the Champions League and then the League Cup.
Yeah, it was a job done, I think, at the weekend, wasn't it? Is that the way you would reflect on it, Tony? Because it was. I always think these games after the international break are always kind of sticky matches. You know, the players have been away across the world, and you're very rarely, as much as fans and we want to see us kicking on from the win over Rangers, you're probably not going to see that level of performance.
They can be fraught, can't they? And the manager said himself, he just tried to ease them back into that tempo and that rhythm. When you can see at times it was disjointed. And speaking of shooting boots, I hope Nicholas Kuhn brings his shooting boots on Wednesday. He thought he just had several chances to maybe be a wee bit more selfish and have a wee bit more belief in his own ability to actually, shoot and score, because he can do it. He's proven it already. But yeah, I think we would have taken the win, didn't we? They said anything less than the win would have been disappointing. Granted, they didn't hit the heights of the Rangers game or some of the performances, but you still got to get that job done, Hamish, as you say, and you're allowing for all those circumstances to come into play, and Engels came in and had a cracking, first start, and Luke McCowan, he's walking on water at the minute, isn't he? Everything he touches turns to gold, and good on him. And it's just that just helps. I think the loudest cheer was for McCowan, wasn't it? Because fine well, if he wasn't playing for Celtic and playing football, he'd be in the stand cheering whoever it was that did what he did on Saturday. So it's just great to see kind of a Celtic supporter doing something that he's probably always dreamt of doing, and it came later on in life in his career, so good on him. And yeah, it's just Celtic are in a good place. The manager's at pains to stress that, isn't he? And long may that continue. But Wednesday night's just huge, isn't it? It's just massive, and that anticipation, just can't wait. As I say, always 2 more sleeps.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge game. We can chat about some of the positives from Saturday, I think, guys, because I thought there were generally real positives, and you've just outlined a couple of them there, Tony. But Arne Engels, I thought it was a good debut. I thought he was lively. The thing I liked about him was he was kind of on his teammates' wavelength, nice and early. Sometimes for a new signing, it would take them time to get up to speed, especially when we've been playing so well. But I thought, he was pressing when he didn't have the ball. He was making runs off the ball, like the one when he got and he hit the shot off the post. I thought if you actually watch that back, the ball's not even at Nicholas Kuhn. I think Johnston throws it to Kuhn, and before the ball's even at Kuhn, Engels is on the move and he wants the ball back. So really positive performance from him. I thought there's bits of his game as well that can tighten up, and I think they will as we go forward. Like, he did give the ball away a few times. I didn't think it was a Nakamura level of debut like he had all those years ago, but I thought it was pretty good, right?
I'd agree. I'd completely agree. And I'm glad that you're bringing up some of the things he didn't do well, because I think everybody sort of forgot about it in the excitement of this £11 million player. I thought there was a couple of moments in the game where he touched the ball too many times, taking 2, 3, 4 touches, and something that could have been done in 1 or 2. That'll come with time. That'll come with getting to know his teammates. But you can see very quickly the reason why Celtic have signed this player, because he's intelligent, he's good off the ball, he's good at intercepting the ball and getting the ball back for his teammates. That shot that he had, that he clipped the post, I've seen Celtic concede that goal in Europe so many times. It's the speed of thought to do that. We don't have players that are on that wavelength, but now we do, and you can see the difference. That's the difference between buying a player for maybe 2-3 million and buying a player for 11. This guy looks as if he's only going to get better game by game. I think he's an absolute certainty to start on Wednesday. These are the games that he was brought in to play in. I think he's already commanding that spot. I don't think it's Arne Engels that needs to worry about his midfield spot. It's another player that probably needs to worry about his spot being taken for Bernardo, and I think that change will be made for Wednesday. But I'm just looking forward to seeing more. Solid debut, things he needs to improve on, but there's enough there. You can see why Celtic have signed this player and really pushed the boat out to bring him into the club.
So you, just to clarify, you are Engels, Bernardo, McGregor for Wednesday night. Tony?
Absolutely.
Snap. Has to be, doesn't it?
Right. Oh, see, I've still got Hatate in there, guys. I know he wasn't great
off the ball. Yeah. It's just so important in Europe. I think he's an absolute machine in Europe. What he brings off the ball, he got trusted with the Rangers game. I know Arne Engels was just through the door, so you don't really expect him to start a game of that magnitude. But I think for European games, when you're going to be in a battle with Bratislava, I'll look into them more today in terms of a preview to see what they're actually going to be bringing to Celtic. I'm sure they won 2-1 at the weekend. They get a last-minute penalty.
The opposition missed a 100th. Sorry, they missed a 100th minute penalty. The opposition as well.
My goodness! So they were hanging on at the end, to be honest. So. Yeah, for me, Bernardo's got to start. He's got to start in that game. I think in European games, when you're going to be off the ball as well, as much as I think Celtic will largely dominate possession against Bratislava, there will be moments when they're off the ball, and you need Bernardo's dig and his qualities that he brings when not in possession. So for me, Bernardo, Hatate's a great sub to bring on, but for me, Bernardo starts.
I find it interesting. I mean, it's a proper debate. I would just always have Hatate in there, because I honestly think that stage is set up in European competition. A team that are probably going to come in and sit behind the ball. I think Hatate is usually good in those kind of games. I'm not denying Tony Hatate wasn't great at the weekend, and he's been inconsistent this season. But for me, I'd still want him in there.
Well, it's a great debate, as you say, but I just think the manager wants people to be tighter in possession. And I think Hatate is the one who gives them, let's say, concern. Concern might be too strong, but that tendency to give the ball away in critical areas. And I just think Hatate will be the one that is rotated on Wednesday night, because I think he'll want to really solidify that midfield. And as Ryan says, he'll be in a battle. And Bernardo was rotated on Saturday, I thought, because Bernardo was excellent against Rangers, and he played 2 under-21 matches. So I think he said to Bernardo, look, I'm going to rotate you for this one, but don't worry, you'll be back in on Wednesday night for Slovan Bratislava. And I think everybody liked the look of Engels, and McGregor, you just don't drop McGregor, do you? So I think Hatate will be the one that loses out. But I'm not having a go at Hatate, because he has worked on that side of the game, because you can see that Brendan Rodgers had worked with him. I just feel that Bernardo will play. So if Bernardo's coming into the team, then I think it's Hatate that loses out, because you want to see more of Engels, and you want to see, you will see Callum McGregor. He's your captain, and he will not be rotated until such times when the manager sees fit. So and I liked what I liked about Engels on Saturday was the fact that he could ghost into some real attacking positions. He read the game really, really well, and I just think that he was a bit ring rusty in terms of the way Celtic play, but that's understandable. He's getting up to speed with the way Rodgers wants him to play the way Celtic play, but he had an uncanny ability to get into real attacking positions, and I think the manager saw that well. The speed of thought that Ryan was talking about for the one that he slammed against the post, that, it's only so many footballers can do that. It's the thought processes, the way I talk about it a lot. I talk about spatial awareness, seeing games and pictures and seeing things develop, and I think Engels is one of those players that can see that, and that's what I was happy about. But yeah, you get caught in possession a couple of times and maybe dwelt on the ball a bit too much. I get that, but these are small things that can be ironed out. The manager will certainly have a word with him before Wednesday, and he'll show him those clips and say, look, a wee bit quicker there, a wee bit tighter, and everything will be fine. Because I was quite impressed. But yeah, I've just got a feeling he'll play Bernardo, Engels, and McGregor on Wednesday night. Just, I could be wrong, Hamish. You might well, because some of Hatate's better games have been in the Champions League. So it's one of those, isn't it? It's why the manager earns the big money, and he will make that call. But I go with my head, and my head's telling me that it's going to be the three that we've mentioned.
I wouldn't be massively surprised, if I'm honest. To be honest, I think McGregor's the certainty. McGregor is going to start the game, obviously. I think if any of the other three weren't to start, I wouldn't be shocked. I could see a combination of the other two. How did that midfield of McGregor, Bernardo, Engels do on Saturday? Because obviously Hatate went off, didn't he? I actually must admit there was enough going on in my life at 2 a.m. with Celtic TV cutting in and out, so you would have had a better look at the game, Ryan.
Yeah, I actually thought Engels improved more and more as the game went on, and he was becoming a real focal point in the team, which is great to see. I think he's just needing to get calibrated with his teammates. I think Bernardo's a really good teammate, and Cal McGregor spoke about that last season. He was adamant that he wanted Bernardo back at the club because he enjoyed playing with him. Some players get on better with other players in that midfield, and I think Bernardo's a great facilitator to everybody. I thought in the couple of touches that he did have when he came onto the park, Bernardo looked sharp. He's clearly played a lot of football. The Portuguese under-21 national team clearly rate him. That's why he's the captain of the squad. It's going to be difficult for him to get in that senior team, but you never know in years to come. I just like what Bernardo brings to the side, and I think he'll need his running for Europe on Wednesday, because they're a bit of an unknown quantity, Bratislava. At this moment in time, we don't know if they're going to come and attack fully or maybe sit behind the ball. But I think regardless of who starts and who comes on, they've all got a part to play. The player that plays 60, 70 minutes and starts the game has just as important a role as the player coming off the bench for the last 20, whether that's Hatate if you're chasing a goal, or if you're Bernardo coming onto the pitch maybe to shore up a win if you're 1 or 2 goals up. Regardless of who plays, they've got a really, really important job on their hands. And it's great to have that squad depth now, because imagine if you hadn't signed Engels in the last days of the transfer window, there would already be that pressure on Bernardo to play every 3 days, because he'd be a shoo-in at the moment to be starting every game. But having Engels there, who I think will play most games, you don't sign a player for £11 million to sit on the bench. He is going to play them the vast majority of games. He showed enough against Hearts on Saturday to really indicate that he should be playing most games. So, it's up to Bernardo and Hatate to fight it out for that one remaining spot, because McGregor and Engels, for me, they're on the team sheet more often than not. So there's only one position to fight for, and it's up to either Hatate and Bernardo, and they can share the load between them. To be honest, different games will require different players and different mentalities. Horses for courses, as Tony calls it. I do think there's going to be plenty of game time for everybody, and it's not personal to drop somebody or choose somebody different, because I think everybody will have a point to prove. But I thought Engels got better as the game went on Saturday.
I mean, I like to. People are talking about Bernardo's work ethic. People are also forgetting that this guy can play. Bernardo's a cracking footballer.
Yeah.
He can score goals as well. He's shown you they can do that. So, I think Bernardo will blossom into a wonderful player at Celtic. And this is his stage. It's nights like Wednesday night where he can show that. And I get people saying, he chases back and he does the dirty thing. He does. But he also does a lot of clean things too, and a lot of elegant things, a lot of silky things, because he's got it in his locker. He's came from a cracking academy who produce footballers by the dozen, and he's another one. I think people tend to forget that he's quite young as well. And Bernardo's still kind of learning everything, but he's had that loan spell pretty successful, and we've talked up the bigger moments in Celtic season towards the end. Bernardo was involved, and we liked that about him. And he was coming off the bench and being that impact player. Now I think on Wednesday he'll get that chance to showcase what he has and the talent that he's got, allied to that bit of dig and that that workmanlike, selflessness that Brendan Rodgers talks about by being a good teammate. So that's why Bernardo's in my team at the expense of Hatate, because I think Hatate is a wonderfully gifted and talented player as well, but I think he's a tendency that when he falls out of matches, he becomes anonymous and a non-contributor for periods, and you can't really have that on Wednesday. It's all hands to the pump on Wednesday, and everybody needs to be doing their part on and off the ball. And I think it's the off the ball stuff that Hatate needs to work on more than anything else.
The difficulty I've got is that 2 or 3 weeks ago, after the St Mirren game, we were brilliant that day, on I think 3-0. Hatate was brilliant that day, pretty sure he won man of the match, and we were all absolutely raving about him, looking at him, the level of O'Reilly type thing. He's the next one who's going to go, and then suddenly, everyone's kind of, not everyone, but there's like a lot in the chat about, Hatate just doesn't fancy it. He's not buying into, the way we want to play in the same way as guys like Bernardo, and I just struggle with that a little bit. I just think it's a case of Hatate trying to find consistency. I think Hatate at his best is fabulous, and that's what I hope to see on Wednesday if he starts. The issue with Hatate is that even in games he's doing some things really well, and in other moments he's kind of given a slack pass away. So it's going to be interesting to see what Rodgers does. I just think Hatate will be in the team on Wednesday. I could be wrong though.
It's a good conundrum to have.
Yeah, I've no qualms if he plays him. Absolutely none. You see, some of his better moments have come in Champions League games, So I'm just going with what my preference is and what I think the manager might choose, but I could be wrong in that. So because I still think Hatate's a tremendous and wonderfully gifted footballer, as I've said, there's just certain things that maybe the manager is seeing and doesn't like about him at the minute, and I think one of them is he's struggling for a bit of form. He wasn't. He was okay against Rangers. He was just okay. He was the third best of three midfielders, if you want to put it that way. But he didn't have a poor game per se. But it was noticeable that his high bar, he dropped from that high bar. And again on Saturday, I don't think he was fully convincing against Hearts. So read what you want into that.
What I would say is that I don't think it's him not being bothered or uninterested. I think it's the complete opposite. I think he's too passionate and too emotional about his own performance that it really eats away at him if he doesn't do something right. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He is a very emotional player, and he shows that every time he plays for Celtic. And not that it annoys me when people say that he's not interested, but you can clearly see the frustration in his game when he isn't playing at the top level. He gets annoyed with himself if he misplaces a pass. His head will drop. He cares too much, if anything. So
you don't need that. You really don't. You don't. Matt O'Reilly, when he first joined, was really bad at that. Like if he gave a daft pass away, you'd see him going like that, and you don't need that. So someone almost just needs to say, Hatate, just calm down, do what you're doing well, because he's his own worst critic, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's far too hard on himself, and he allows that. He allows the criticism, maybe that's going in his own head, to start overcoming him in games. And if that's the case, then he's actually hurting the team by playing off form. Because when he's on form, arguably there's nobody better than him in the league in terms of his dynamism and what he can do on the ball. He's just very, very hard on himself, and I wouldn't be surprised. It would be very Hatate if he was to come into the game on Wednesday and put a man of the match performance. That's Hatate. You take the good with the bad. Yes, he's inconsistent. Yes, he kicks up a fuss when things aren't going his way. But my goodness, he's passionate, and when he's on it, he's literally unstoppable when he's on it. I've not been able to see a team that's able to deal with Hatate when he's on top form. His biggest enemy is himself in his game. That's the only thing holding him back is himself.
Wednesday's a night for calm and cool heads, Hamish.
Yep.
The manager might be looking at Hatate and thinking, what you've just said there, I don't need somebody falling out with himself more than anything else. So again, trying to act like Brendan, what he's seen. Somebody beating himself up because they didn't get the pass right instead of just blanking it out. And and it's all fine being your own harshest critic, but you need to produce. You can't let things eat away at you and consume you. So, and I think at this minute in time, the three calmest and coolest heads in that Celtic midfield for me are Bernardo, Engels and McGregor. Could be wrong in that, but I'm willing to say that, and that's what the manager will decide for Wednesday.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see going forward. It's good to have debate, isn't it? Because how long did we have our midfield three sorted for virtually every game, and it was Hatate, O'Reilly, McGregor, and now we have a genuine debate there. And the good thing is, it's not like just a debate right now. It's going to be a debate for every big game this season. Who do you leave out? And by the way, you can throw Luke McCowan in there potentially. I'm already looking at Luke for Wednesday night as an option off the bench, who I think is going to give us something like that's already how I see him. I think he's a great player to have coming off the bench based off Saturday.
You'll get minutes.
Yeah, I think he'll start against Falkirk, but I think he'll come off the bench against Bratislava. And it's not as if it's like a downgrade in quality, because what Luke McCowan gives you, how many times in that game were Celtic not pulling the trigger? And McCowan was like, no, I'll just take this into my own hands and shoot. Get a tiny bit of luck, I would say, with I think it was poor goalkeeping for Craig Gordon. But if you don't buy a ticket, you don't win the lottery. So that's it. He took his chance and he got it, and he got his goal, and that was the moment of the game for me. You could see the joy in his face. You could see the joy in his teammates as well, because they know how much it means to him playing for Celtic. It's his boyhood club, and it's his boyhood dream, and they're all delighted for him. But I think he's more than that, and I think Brendan Rodgers is trying to point that out as well. It's not just like not a pity signing or something, or not signing a player purely just because he supports Celtic. He's signed him because he can make a difference in this team, especially in those league games after, Champions League, or if you're playing midweek, then you've got him to come on in the weekend and really maintain the tempo. I think he'll help Callum McGregor in that as well, because he knows the geography, he knows what it's all about. But yeah, I was impressed with him. I just think there's one thing that's been maybe overlooked in that second goal. It's an amazing header from Callum McGregor in his own box, because Celtic are defending. It's a really quick counter-attacking goal, but McGregor wins an important header in the box from a dangerous Hearts attack that starts it. Callum McGregor's influence in this team is growing and growing. I didn't think it could get any bigger, but it's growing even more so this season. He's single-handedly helping the team and driving the team forward. He's really playing like a captain, but I think he's went up a level in the past few weeks. It's really brilliant to see.
Do we...
Sorry,
no, I was going to move on, so you've made your point, Tony, and then we'll move on.
Well, I was going to move on as well, because I tell you what, I also like that. I like Adam Idah's goal that wasn't given, because I thought it was a very Adam Idah-like goal. And I'm hoping that does wonders for his confidence to say, right, okay, yeah, it was ruled out, talking inches, but that's a striker's goal. That's why he was brought back to the club. That was the old Adam Idah I saw on Saturday. The one that had the successful loan spell. Granted, it was ruled out, but it's the kind of goal that you expect Adam Idah to score. I was cursing actually Lewis Palmer for not looking along the line and getting himself offside. It was a lovely goal. It was a cracking goal. So I just hope that Adam Idah can say, right, I'm ready now to make a contribution, because that's a contribution you want for him to be making when he comes on for Kyogo. And like we're talking about other players. There'll be games where Adam Idah will start. I think Falkirk could be one of those games where Adam Idah will start. If he hasn't scored, if he doesn't come on and score on Wednesday night, because I think Kyogo will start on Wednesday, but I'm certain that Adam Idah will come on in that game and get the chance to make his mark in that competition. But it's those idiosyncrasies and behaviours that we keep talking about. He was in the right place at the right time to finish off a lovely move. And I think that was him settling back into the old routine. I just hope he can say, right, okay, I was, a VAR assisted, ruling out goal away from opening my account again, but I'm back, I can do this, I'm ready to take on that challenge in Manto again.
It's a weird one because it's obviously not a goal because Palma was offside and the game finished 2-0, not 3-0. But in a weird way, does Idah, because the goal was given at the time and he's finished it well, and obviously he wasn't the one that is offside, is that a big moment for him, even though the goal doesn't count? Does he look back in that and think that's, in a weird way, that's me kind of off the mark, I've finished well there, and hopefully I can build. I mean, Greg Taylor was brilliant in the lead up to that as well. The other player I wanted to touch on, Alistair Johnson, I didn't think had a great game. Do you guys think that he's suffering from this tight hamstring that Brendan Rodgers has been very open about, or was it just a bad day for him? Because I mean, for as good as he's been so far this season, he's been sensational. He was really poor on Saturday, I thought.
There was one point in particular in the game where Celtic had made their 5 subs, and I was like, I kind of want Alistair Johnson off this pitch here, because he looked very, very shaky whenever the ball came near him, either when he had the ball in possession or he was defending against his man. He didn't do anything absolutely, shocking. It was just very slack in a lot of his play. And yeah, the standards that you expect from somebody like Alistair Johnson are so high now that if he drops it ever so slightly, it becomes noticeable. And I'm like that with a few players. If they don't get to it was the same with Cameron Carter-Vickers a couple of weeks ago. If you dropped it a 7 or a 6 out of 10, and I think the gap is quite noticeable between that and an 8 out of 10 performance. So I'm not too worried. He was still getting up the pitch fairly easily and without any strain or pain from what it looked like. But at the same time, I'm looking at that Bratislava game, playing your 70, 80 minutes, and then if he has to come off, then so be it, and then resting him against Falkirk. As much as Falkirk are a really informed side at the moment, they're top of the championship. They've won every game. They've got a game in hand, but they're also winning every game. John McGlann's doing an incredible job with Falkirk. They could go for back-to-back promotions at this point in time. I do want the squad to be rotated, but maybe not 9-10 changes, but I do want, in certain areas, I want the squad to be rotated and managed, because as much as the League Cup is important, I think the squad depth and keeping the squad fit and fresh is just as important for what's to come in both the League and the Champions League. So having that opportunity on Sunday will be really important, in my opinion. I think Johnson will play on Wednesday, there's no doubt about that, but I think for the weekend, I would maybe try and take him out of the firing line and give him a bit of a break.
But if his poor performance on Saturday, and it was so out of character because he's been brilliant this season, so that's what has me asking, is he carrying some sort of knock here? And we know that there's something going on because, as I say, Brendan Rodgers said that on Friday, that even in the lead up to the recent derby, he'd had some tightness in his hamstring. So my point would be, if he is carrying some sort of thing here and it's affecting performance, and again, we don't know for sure that was the reason why he was poor on Saturday, but are you better looking at Anthony Ralston potentially for Wednesday night? Because I think Ralston would be absolutely fine in that game. So I think that's all I'm saying, is that's one to keep an eye on, I think.
I think he was maybe protecting himself on Saturday, wasn't he? Didn't want to do things that he would normally do as second nature. And I get that. So I would have no qualms about Ralston going in there, as you say. But I would have put Ralston in on Saturday. He was in my original starting lineup for the man spoke on Friday. But I would have put Ralston in there on Saturday just to give him every time for that, tightness in the hamstring to ease off. And I know Johnson himself says, I'll play with injuries, I don't care and all that. And I love that attitude. I love that application. But, it was to his detriment on Saturday because he wasn't his normal 8 out of 10 performance. So if there is a niggling issue there, Hamish, then you can't risk somebody like you can't risk him being out for a lengthier period of time. So if there's a niggle there or there's a doubt, I would be fine with Ralston. Just say, you have to just sort of say, right, fine, because players are their own worst enemy, aren't they? They'll tell you they're fit and they want to play because they don't want to miss out, especially on an occasion like this. And I don't imagine Johnson will want to miss out on an occasion like this, but he has to be bang at it. He can't produce back-to-back displays like the Hearts one on Saturday, especially not against Slovan Bratislava. So if there's any doubt there at all, when the manager did say that he was carrying it into the Rangers game as well, I would really assess that and make a late judgment call on that. But I've no qualms about Ralston getting there either, if he has to.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a step up. Let's not beat around the bush. It's a pretty big step up from Hearts to Slovan Bratislava. I think they're a team who are going to come and are going to create chances. It's going to be a relatively even game. I think Celtic will win the game. I know we're quite big favourites looking at it, but I think it's going to be a tough game. And if we have weaknesses in our team, and a player who maybe isn't at 100% full fitness, at Champions League level, even against a top 4 team like Slovan Bratislava, you're going to have that exploited. So that's the only point I would make. If he is carrying some sort of knock, not even just for Wednesday, but looking forward to the even tougher tests we'll have, the likes of Borussia Dortmund, is it worth Johnson playing with some sort of tightness in his hamstring, knowing that may go at some stage? You've got Anthony Ralston there, so trust the manager 100% in what he's doing. But I think he's got decisions to make for Wednesday. I mean, I think Kyogo will start. We all feel that. Kyogo scored 1 goal in 5 games he's played this season. Now, I don't think he's struggling. I think he's playing quite well, Kyogo. He's just maybe not getting the rewards. He's not taking the chances like we normally would expect him to do. But even there, you wonder, is that a little bit? Because people thought we'd signed Idah for the Champions League, and Rodgers views him as this player who can help us at that level. So, is that even a debate for the manager?
Yeah, Kyogo's missing too many one-on-ones for me at this point in time. And then he's maybe a victim of his own success, because you see him do so well in chances that maybe he shouldn't score. That I think his movement's that quick that he gets into positions that other strikers won't, due to his speed of thought and his quickness in getting into that position. I mean, that one chance in particular that he blazed wide when he should have
gone round him.
He should have gone round him or tried to chip him, or tried to chip the goalkeeper. You could have put.
Craig Gordon doesn't like that, as Odson Edward.
No, he doesn't. He might have got the ball thrown back at him. Yeah, that is very true. But I mean, with the second chance that Kyogo had, it was a great save from Craig Gordon, and I thought Koeman was going to slide in for the rebound, but obviously it was a great block by the defender on the line. Kyogo, he just needs to start scoring these chances. I'd back him from 20, 25 yards out, but sometimes you wouldn't back him from 10 yards out. It seems as if the further away, the more chance he's got to score, because he scores the more difficult chances. And he's always worthy of being put in that team, because he can deliver in those big moments. But those one-on-ones, he seems to be missing a couple of them a game now, and he needs to get back in shaping and back scoring those. He's only got 1 goal so far this season, albeit it was a great goal against Rangers, but he really should have at least 4 or 5 at the moment. He should be near the top of the Scottish Premiership scoring charts at this moment in time. He's not, because his finishing has been lacklustre, apart from that one against Rangers, which will save him because it's against Rangers, and he delivers in the big moments. He'll do it in the Champions League. There's no doubt about that. I think he'll score, but I think his bread and butter is the Scottish Premiership, and he needs to be doing better. You
wouldn't be surprised at all if he goes and scores a double in midweek. You really wouldn't, because that's Kyogo.
That's Kyogo.
Just finally, Tony,
Kyogo.
Did you see the 2 Hearts players trying to put Arne off taking the penalty? Did you enjoy that?
How'd that work out for you? It's in cricket it's called sledging, isn't it? It's an accepted part of football. I get that. I just love it when, the guy just stand there like that. No bother, nothing fazed him. stroke away constantly. Goalkeeper goes the wrong way. It's
It
the
was the
10
fact that how
that
I right, as if he's going to know what I right means.
it's just anything to put him off. That
We know where both of their allegiances lie. We know.
Yeah,
with both of those players
as well, and I couldn't make out what he was saying. But listen, it doesn't matter. It didn't have any effect on him whatsoever. That's another thing that you learnt about Engels on Saturday, that he can take a penalty.
Yeah.
And that was quite a pressure moment for him. And also Hatate said okay, because it was decided before the game that Hatate was on the penalties, but he gave it to Engels. So I don't know if that was a confidence thing or just on your first start, take the ball. But whatever happened, it was an exemplary job. He stuck it away with aplomb, and those guys. He had one glance, didn't he, Craig Gordon, and just nonchalantly just went, "There you go, take a bit of that." And that's what we like to see. And it's even funnier when it's caught on camera, isn't it? And I didn't like that some clipped it up. Just makes you smile, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was
probably
brilliant.
didn't even think it was him that they were talking about, because Engels cost 11 million, not 10 million. So you might have thought that it was somebody else that they were talking about. Maybe he's not a 10 million player, maybe he's an 11 million pound player, but he definitely. I mean, in a pressure situation like that as well, you got to remember it was nothing each. Celtic were lucky with not lucky, because it was the right decision not to overturn the penalty that they got against them. But it was a pressure situation. If Celtic missed that, then the pressure is right on them to get a goal or to try and push forward to try and get the opening goal. For him to step up on his debut start for his new club, to take the ball and to side foot it the other way, it's a measure of the player and a measure of the individual as well. He's really taken that moment with both hands and really made it his own. He's controlled the narrative, and I like to see that from a record signing. He acted like a record signing on Saturday, and long may that continue.
Well, mate, continuing midweek, hopefully, guys. That's a good thing. Now we've got a game in, 2 days. Usually at this point, we need to wait all the way to the weekend, and we kind of have maybe big build-ups and all that kind of stuff. The good thing is we've got 2 games over the rest of this week, and one of them's in the Champions League. I just can't wait for the Champions League to start on Wednesday. Huge opportunity for us, and we can preview that tomorrow. Is there anything else, guys, from either of you today?
We've covered everything, haven't we, Tony? I think we've covered everything that needs to be discussed. I thought Carter Vickers was great at the weekend. He looks back on form.
Greg Taylor was good.
Greg Taylor's just been good all season, hasn't he? He's really, really... I think that new deal needs to be signed. It needs to be sorted, because he's clearly very, very important. I've been a critic of Greg Taylor over the past few years, not in Ange Postecoglou's second season, because I thought he was exemplary. But last season, I thought he had his ups and downs. It seems as if Brendan Rodgers has decided, right, inverted's the best way for you. It's the best way to get the best possible game out of Greg Taylor, and it's working, because he's going into the midfield and causing all sorts of hassle. If you've got players like Engels, Bernardo, Hatate, McGregor in there, we've also got Greg Taylor as a sort of an auxiliary centre midfielder that's coming in unmarked, then it's causing so much hassle for opposition teams, and that'll be a weapon in Europe as well as domestically. So you're delighted with what he's doing. Hopefully gets his new deal sorted, because I mean those videos of him and that inside the huddle were absolutely brilliant. Really endearing himself to the fans even more with videos like that.
Yeah, I loved that. We'll maybe do a review of that at some stage. That was a good watch. Right, we'll head off. We'll head off for today. We'll return tomorrow when we'll be a day closer to the start of our Champions League campaign. Champions League gets underway tomorrow. We have to wait 24 hours later to get underway, but cannot wait for it. Huge few days coming up, guys, and we'll continue the chat tomorrow. Speak to you all then.
Cheers, guys.